Welcome to the Bible study. If this is your first time, please know that the full transcript is down below. Also, hit the like and subscribe button for that YouTube algorithm. That helps get it out to other people. Our prayer for you is that you will open your heart to God's Word as you listen to and read this commentary, and that God will bless you for seeking to know Him and His Word, which is the beginning of wisdom. With that, let's get into Habakkuk 1:14 and 15. You make mankind like the fish of the sea, like crawling things that have no ruler. He brings all of them up with a hook. He drags them out with his net. He gathers them in his dragnet. So he rejoices and is glad. For context, in verses 1:14 through 17, Habakkuk uses an illustration to make his point. In this analogy, we understand that the fish are nations conquered, especially Judea. The fisherman is Babylon. The hook and dragnet are the Babylonians' weapons of war. The luxury and food are the spoils of conquest. Continuing our brief summary of Old Testament history, last time we ended up with the United Kingdom of Israel, with Saul, David, and Solomon as king. Solomon's reign was probably the best years of Israel in terms of prosperity. That is when the temple was first built in Jerusalem, and Solomon and Israel became quite wealthy. However, while Solomon started off righteously, he ended up badly. 1 Kings 11 tells the sad story, as he had taken many wives and concubines from many nations, which God told not to do, and amassed for himself great wealth. In 1 Kings 11:4 we read, "For when Solomon was old, his wives turned away his heart after other gods, and his heart was not wholly true to the Lord his God, as was the heart of David his father." After Solomon's death in 931 BC, his son Rehoboam was unwise, and the kingdom was split into two. The northern kingdom, called Israel, was ruled by Jeroboam, son of Nabat, and the southern kingdom, Judea, was ruled by Rehoboam. This begins what is called the divided kingdom period, which lasted until 732 BC. We'll cover that in the future. Habakkuk begins his analogy by stating that God made mankind, referring to Judea, like fish in the sea. They have no ruler refers to the fact that Judea has no real ruler, rather they are controlled by their wickedness and evil. Like fish, Judea is helpless and vulnerable to the fisherman, which signifies Babylon. Essentially, they will end up as seafood for the stronger nation. The imagery of verses 14 and 15 underlines the ruthless behavior of the Babylonians. With a hook, a fisherman catches a single fish. This was probably what Habakkuk was hoping for, especially if the fish caught were those who are doing evil. However, with God's proclamation, he goes on to refer to the dragnet, which is a huge net which captures everything in its clutches. The guilty and the innocent will be captured in the net and be taken by the Babylonians. As an interesting aside, Babylonians placed hooks into the lower jaw or nose of their captives to lead them along with chains. No wonder Habakkuk is appalled by the brutality. One of the oldest methods of fishing as a group is the dragnet. Mendevel Nun, an Israeli historian, describes the dragnet as being made of netting shaped like a long wall, 250 to 300 meters long, 3 to 4 meters high at its wings, and 8 meters high at the center. The foot rope is weighted with sinkers and the head rope with cork. The dragnet is spread 100 meters or more from the shore by a boat parallel to it and hauled towards the shore with towing lines consisting of sections of rope tied together. These are attached to the end and hauled in by a team of 16 men for large nets or a smaller team for smaller nets. The Babylonians rejoiced at their victories. The Babylonians chronicled many of their victories in stone, which still exist today in museums. They were a power to be reasoned with. Application. Babylon had a specific way of conquering nations. They would take captive the brightest and best talent and young people the nation had to offer and lead them captive to Babylon and re-educate them to Babylonian ways. For the most part, this worked. However, a few of them, like Daniel, continued to trust in God. In the end, even though he was captive, God honored that faithfulness. As we read in Daniel 1:20, and in every matter of wisdom and understanding about which the king inquired of them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and enchanters that were in all his kingdom. In the world, we need to be like Daniel. In his position in the Babylonian court, Daniel served faithfully and diligently. However, he would also put God first in everything. We need to be like Daniel, honoring our commitments to our job, our neighbors, and the country we live in. This is not a political statement. However, when there is a conflict between our worldly commitments and our commitment to God, we need to stand up for God. Daniel never did this violently, harshly, or with animosity toward his masters, but stood with God with humility and grace. In Colossians 4:6, it says, "Let your speech always be gracious, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how you should answer each person." Well, that's our Bible study for this session. We certainly pray that God blesses you for sticking around. And please hit that like and subscribe button. And we will see you on the next one.